Okay, so our topic for today is neurological examination. So as you can see, our previous lectures usually tackle the different levels, no, as well as the different system of the nervous system. Okay, so primarily, hopefully they've already touched some examination depending on what level we want to examine. Okay, for example, of course, in the infratentorial level or the posterior level, we have tackled several cranial nerve examination and then cerebellar examination. Okay, in all so that we can test what might be the levelization, lateralization, or localization of the lesion. So primarily, we are actually doing this okay, so primarily, we are actually doing this to answer the second neurological question. Okay, so the first question, of course, is there a neurologic problem? And the second question is, where is the lesion? Okay, so in order for us to answer the second question, which is of course a prerequisite of the third and fourth question, your diagnosis and management of your patient, you should be able to levelize, no, lateralize, and localize a lesion. Okay, so in order for you to do that, you should have a good history, physical examination, and of course, your neurological examination. So unlike any other system in which, di ba, we are using the inspection, palpation, percussion, and auscultation as different maneuvers in order for us to diagnose a certain disease, no, or disorder. Of course, we cannot do that in neurological examination or when we want to diagnose a neurologic problem. Okay, we have actually several maneuvers and tests in order for us to do that, no? Of course, this should be best lectured face-to-face sana, no? Because we should have demonstration and return demonstration. But unfortunately, we cannot do that, no? Pero let's just imagine na lang, no, that we are in a classroom setting or we are in our clinic, no? And we have our patient, okay? So you can actually choose your patient now, no? You can choose Ivana, si this one, a Korean actor, or probably you can choose your president, no, to demonstrate, or your PR, relations officer, or probably your treasurer. Treasurer ba si Kwan or secretary? Okay, so I'm not saying that they have a neurologic problem, okay? So actually, no, nowadays, government agencies and some private sectors require their patients or their employees to have neurological examination prior to start of a certain job, okay? So the first thing or, okay, let's imagine, no, when we want to examine the brain, it should be systematic. Okay, so definitely we should start from the supratentorial area. We should examine the cortex, okay, and then followed by the brainstem, and then the cerebellum, no? Okay, so the first thing that we should examine, of course, is the supratentorial area, okay? The different cortex, the frontal lobe, okay, the temporal lobe, the occipital lobe, the parietal lobe, and other subcortical regions. And then followed by the infratentorial area, okay, the brainstem, and the cerebellum. Okay, and then the motor part, the sensory part, and then the reflexes, and then the cerebellar area. Okay, actually dito yan, no? Cerebellar area. Okay, and then of course, we have the different pathological reflexes. and the meningeal signs. Okay? So as you can see, in order for you to do all of this, you should probably dedicate about 30 minutes to 1 hour of your time. Okay? But in reality, because of course we are in a hospital setting, primarily if we are in the emergency room, we actually do targeted neurological examination. Okay, for example, the patient is complaining of dizziness. Of course, you will focus more your attention on testing the infratentorial region. Okay, that's why we are actually teaching you to organize your thoughts, okay, or probably have a certain pathway that you should do in order for you to get your diagnosis. Okay? So now for the mental examination, so here is our outline. Okay? So we should check for the alertness, etc., etc. Okay? So first is the level of alertness. Okay? So when we see alertness, we will test if the patient is awake, okay, do have that attention and cooperative. Okay, how will we do that? Okay, by doing or telling to the patient to spell a word, no, forward or backward. Okay, for example, world. So WORLD, and then backward DLROW. Okay, this is actually the standard word that we can use, no? Another is, so you can repeat a string of integers forward and backward. Okay, for example, 5688052. Okay, and then backwards again. Okay, you can actually tell your patient to do that, no? And naming the months forward and then backward. Okay, so January to December and then December to January. Now, what is being tested here? Okay, so what do you think is being tested in alertness, attention, and cooperation? Okay, so kindly key in your answers in the chat box. What do you think? Alertness, attention, and cooperation. Your ARAS, no? Okay, you're actually testing your ARAS. So ARAS is your ascending reticular activating system. No, so always remember that the ARAS, so if for example this is your brain, no, the cerebrum. Okay, and then here is the midbrain, the pons, and then we have here the medulla, and then the spinal cord. Okay, so the ARAS will start primarily in the upper portion of the medulla. Okay, here. Okay, primarily in the tegmentum region, right? Okay, and then they will actually ascend medulla, and then pons, and then midbrain, and then they will go to the thalamus, no? And then from the thalamus, they will spread in the different part of the cortex. Okay, so this is the ARAS. So as you can see, any lesion, okay, that interrupts or damage the ARAS can actually cause decrease in awareness or alertness of your patient. Okay, so as you can see here, no, if for example, so this is the right side of the brain, and then left side of the brain. If, for example, you have a tumor here, very big tumor in the left, can it cause decreased wakefulness or decreased alertness in your patient? It will not cause, no? Supposedly, a lesion that will actually affect, no, diffusely the cerebrum will actually affect the alertness of your patient. Okay, so what are these? So number one, metabolic problem. Okay, for example, our patient is suffering from hypoglycemia. Okay, decreased sugar, no? So definitely, it will diffusely affect the cerebrum, okay, causing decrease in sensorium or alertness of your patient, okay? Number 2, encephalitis and meningitis, no? Infection. So as you can see, it is actually a diffuse lesion affecting the whole brain, okay? And of course, number 3, lesions in the tegmental region. Okay, here, no? Lesions in the tegmentum. Okay, probably a bleed or an infarct, they can actually cause a decrease in sensorium or alertness of your patient. Okay, there are actually lesions. Okay, again, this is your cerebrum. Okay, so for example, I have a lesion here, a very big bleed. If this bleed tend to expand or rebleed, no, or will cause massive edema, it can actually cause herniation, okay, or compression on the other side of the brain. Okay, hence it can also cause decrease in sensorium. Okay, but definitely a unilateral lesion, okay, for example, a lesion in the left side of the brain cannot affect the alertness of your patient. Okay, so that is for the alertness, attention, and cooperation. You are actually testing the ARAS. Okay, so always remember that. So orientation, this is actually standard, no? So you can ask the name of the patient, the location, as well as the date, no? Okay, so what is being tested here? You are also testing here actually several areas of the brain. Primarily, the parietal region and the temporal region. Okay? So that is for orientation. How about memory? No? There are actually two primary types of memory. You have the recent memory and the remote memory. When we say recent, ask the patient to recall 3 items after a delay of 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so usual in MMSE or in the mini mental status examination, we can actually tell to the patient, remember these 3 things, no? Mangga, mesa, pera. Okay, so mangga, mesa, pera. And then after 3 or 5 minutes, you can ask the patient to repeat those words. Okay, so you're actually testing the recent memory, no? If I'm in the clinic naman, what I usually do is, for example, my clinic is morning, no? So I'll ask the patient kung ano yung breakfast niya nung morning, okay? So usually you are testing the recent memory, no? How about the remote? Okay, so when we say remote, ask the patient about historical or verifiable personal events. Okay, so definitely your patient should have a watcher or accompanying relative. Okay, you can actually ask kung saan pinanganak yung patient, okay, or who is the president right now, no, or saan siya nag-elementary or high school. Okay, and of course the relative should verify that. So that is for your remote memory. Okay, now what is being tested here? We are actually testing here of course, the seat of memory, your hippocampus. Hippocampus is actually part of your limbic system. Okay? Limbic system, and they are located in the medial temporal lobe. Medial temporal lobe. Medial temporal lobe. Okay, recently I have actually a patient, no, complaining of sudden memory loss. Okay? Actually, it was sudden and then it was noted to be progressive. So what I thought before is it is a vascular or a stroke, no, because it is sudden, no. But after that, the patient tend to have a progressive memory loss. And then when I did MRI, we noted a tumor, no, in the medial temporal region. Okay, so unfortunately, it was a malignant tumor, no. So it can actually affect both your recent and then your remote memory. Okay, that is for your memory. Okay, how about language? Okay, so when we say language, there are several factors that we should test, no? So, hello, can you hear me?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay, sige. So for the language, when we say problem in language, this is also known as your aphasia. Okay? And as we all know, there are different types of aphasia. And you can only differentiate these different types of aphasia if you will examine the patient. Okay? How will you do this? Okay, by doing several tests, no, or examination. So you should test for, my mnemonic here is my nickname. Alam niyo ba ang nickname ko? Hindi. Franz, no? So there are different types of aphasia, and you can actually differentiate them by doing or by asking the patient or by testing the patient. So letter F is fluency. Okay? So again, you should make a table. And then number 2 is FR, Franz, repetition. Okay? And then letter A is auditory comprehension. Okay, comprehend. Okay, ability to follow commands. And then the last one is naming. Okay? And then dun sa last na table, you should put there the area that is affected. Okay, what area of the brain is affected? Okay, so number 1 is so when we say fluency, the normal rate that we can utter words is about 100 to 115 words per minute. Okay, so madami, no? We can actually tell so many words per minute. Now, if the patient, if below that, okay, or probably wala at all, no? Sometimes, no? The patient cannot talk at all. There is actually a problem in the fluency of the patient. Okay, non-fluent yung patient, no? When we say repetition, you can actually, in Filipino, you can ask the patient to repeat, wala nang papero-pero pa. Okay? No ifs and or buts. Okay? So, wala nang papero-pero pa. Ulitin nyo po. Okay? So, wala nang papero-pero pa. So, that is how you will test for repetition. Okay? How about for auditory comprehension? Okay? There are certain commands, okay, standard commands that you can ask the patient. Okay? So, number 1 is, show me your teeth, okay, and show me your tongue. Okay, those are standard commands, okay, that you should ask the patient. Wag yung kindly raise your hand. Sometimes kasi if you tell to your patient to raise the hand, probably, kwan lang yon, nagkataon, no? Chance lang, no? So usually those things, no? Show me your teeth, show me your tongue, or kindly give me a grip, no? Grip my finger, okay? You can also do that, no? And of course, naming, name an object. For example, name this object, ball pen, name this object, coin. Okay, so those are actually standard objects that you can ask the patient to name. Okay, so what are the different types of aphasia? So number 1 is Broca's aphasia. Okay, so when we say Broca's aphasia, Broca, vocalization, aphasia, absent. Okay, so what do you think? Is the patient fluent or not? Yes or no? Is the patient fluent or not? Can talk or cannot talk? Broca's aphasia. The patient cannot talk. Okay? Can the patient repeat or not? Wala nang papero-pero pa. Since the patient cannot talk, the patient cannot also repeat. Okay? However, the patient can follow commands. Okay? Can the patient name? No also, since the patient cannot talk. Okay? So usually, what area of the brain is affected? Your Broca's area. Okay? So it is actually located in the inferior frontal region. I'll show you later. No? Broca's area or the inferior frontal region. Okay? So number 2 is your Wernicke's aphasia. So when you see Wernicke's W, wordy, okay? The patient can actually talk, but nonsense, okay? Senseless, no? So the patient can actually talk, okay? However, what do you think? Can the patient repeat? Yes or no? The patient cannot repeat, no? Okay? Kasi nonsense lang, hindi siya nakakaintindi. The patient cannot follow commands, okay? And then, can the patient name? No also, okay? So this is your Wernicke's area and it is located in the Wernicke's region in your superior temporal gyrus area. Superior temporal gyrus region, okay? So always remember that it should be the dominant side, okay? And the dominant side mostly is in the left hemisphere, okay? So always remember that basta language, the localization should be the left, okay? So Wernicke's and then global aphasia. Okay, of course, global, it will affect both the Wernicke's and the Broca's area. So the patient cannot talk, the patient cannot repeat, the patient cannot follow commands, and the patient cannot name, okay? And it will affect, of course, the frontal region and the superior temporal gyrus region, okay? Another is your conduction aphasia. Okay, so for the conduction aphasia, the patient is actually fluent, okay? However, the patient cannot repeat. The patient can also follow commands, okay? And the patient can name, okay? So usually, the area that is affected here is your arcuate fasciculus. Okay, arcuate, mamaya ipapakita ko, arcuate fasciculus. Okay, that is your conduction aphasia. Okay? Another type of aphasia is your transcortical. Transcortical aphasia. Okay? So ang code ko dito, ang transcortical aphasia, marami siyang R, no? R. So for the transcortical aphasia, the patient can actually repeat. Okay? For the transcortical aphasia, the patient cannot talk, no? The patient is not fluent. However, the patient can repeat, okay? And then the patient can comprehend, okay? And then the patient cannot name, no? So usually, the affected area here is your frontal region also, okay? Frontal region area, okay? So these are the different types of aphasia. In order for you to know what type of aphasia your patient is suffering, no? You should check for the fluency, you should check for FRANS, no? Fluency, repetition, auditory comprehension, and naming, okay? So this is for your aphasia or language. So here, no? This is your Broca's aphasia in the inferior frontal region. And then here is your Wernicke's area in the superior temporal region. Okay, and the one that connects them is your arcuate fasciculus. So lesion in the Broca's area can cause Broca's aphasia. Okay, the patient cannot talk, no? And then lesion in the Wernicke's area, the patient cannot comprehend, cannot do auditory comprehension. Okay? And then of course, conduction aphasia, lesion in the arcuate fasciculus. Okay? Do you get that? That is for your language. And always remember, no? It will affect the left hemisphere. Kahit na walang laterality doon, no? Always, if you are entertaining a language problem, more likely the lesion is in the left. Okay? There are actually patients, no? Will go to your clinic complaining of aphasia without any weakness at all. Okay? So, no motor deficit. And then, you will ask your intern or clerk, lateralize the lesion. Of course, they cannot tell, no, because there's no weakness. Okay. However, since the problem is a language problem, the lateralization of the lesion is always in the left hemisphere. Okay. Do you get that? Okay. Now, aside from those different aspects, we can also map the cortex. When we see cortical mapping, we can actually do several tests in order for as to know if there is a lesion in the frontal lobe area, okay, parietal lobe area, temporal lobe area, and the occipital lobe area, okay? So first is your frontal lobe signs, okay? So most of the frontal lobe signs are actually primitive reflexes, okay? Meaning they are present during our early infancy, no, or neonatal period, and then they tend to disappear, okay? Because our frontal region tend to be mature, no? So namamask niya na, ibig sabihin na i-erase niya na dapat yon, okay? Those different primitive reflex. However, if you have a lesion in the frontal lobe, most of the different primitive reflexes, okay, for example, your GRAST reflex, no? Your rooting reflex, okay? Of course, you cannot do naman in an adult your startle or tonic. So usually, the one that we can test among adults, so first is your glabellar reflex. So I think we've discussed na this one during your neuroanatomy, no? Glabellar, so you should stop the glabellar area, no? Number 2 is plantar or GRAST reflex. Your GRAST reflex. Also, the palmomental reflex. The rooting reflex. And then the pout reflex. Okay? So, always remember again that it should be contralateral to the lesion. For example, I have a patient complaining of headache, and then on neurological examination, I noted GRAST reflex on the right. Okay, so where is the lesion? Lateralize the lesion. Is it right or left? You have a GRAST reflex on the right. Hello? Right or left? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes po, Doc.
Oh, okay. Oh, bakit walang sumasagot?
Nasa
So you
chat
have...
box po.
Left, Doc.
Okay. Hindi ko kasi mabasa yung chat box dito eh. So it should be the left side, okay? So, wait nga. Okay, so always remember that it should be contralateral to the lesion, no? So there are also some degenerative diseases, no? Meaning this is not specific. The most specific here is your GRAST reflex and your palmomental reflex, no? But sometimes, in cases of degenerative disorders like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease, you can also see glabellar, rooting reflex, or pout reflex. Because remember, it will affect more on the frontal region, okay, in cases of dementia, okay? So those are your different frontal lobe signs, okay? And then another is your parietal signs. Always remember, for the parietal signs, it is always contralateral to the lesion, okay? So what are these? So yung code ulit natin is your RAFA. Okay? So first is right-left disorientation. Okay, so number 2 is agraphia, unable to write. And then F is finger agnosia, okay? Unable to recognize. When we say nausea, meaning knowledge yan, no? Absence of knowledge on the name of the different fingers, okay? For example, thumb, pointing finger, middle finger, ring finger, and then little finger, no? So the patient cannot actually identify what finger are you touching, okay? And then you can also have here your asteriognosis. Okay, so stereo meaning shape, no? You will actually put probably a pen or a coin in the palm of your patient, okay? And then the patient should recognize that. If the patient cannot recognize that, the patient is suffering from asteriognosia, okay? And then another is your agraphesthesia. Agraphesthesia, okay? So you can actually write a number on the palm of the patient, okay? And then the patient should recognize what number yon, okay? If the patient cannot recognize, that is agraphesthesia, and it is always contralateral to the lesion, okay? Another is apraxia, okay? When we see praxia, these are actually practice skills, no? So meaning the patient already learned this one, okay? So absent of that one. So you can actually ask the patient to kindly comb your hair using your hand, okay? So if the patient cannot, or kindly brush your teeth using your hand, okay, just a gesture lang, or show me how to brush your teeth, no? So those are actually learned skills already. If those are impaired, no, more likely the patient is suffering from apraxia, and your localization there should be a parietal lobe lesion. So these are your different parietal lobe signs, no? Okay, so there's such a thing as your Gerstmann syndrome, okay? So Gerstmann syndrome is a damage to the left parietal lobe. So as you can see, left, it is the dominant side, okay? So first, right-left confusion, okay? So pangalawa, agraphia, difficulty writing. And then another one pala is your acalculia, okay? So the patient cannot calculate, no? Another, kasama din dito yung finger agnosia, okay? So these are the different component of your Gerstmann syndrome. Okay? Gerstmann syndrome is lesion in the left parietal lobe, okay? Ito yung sinasabi ko, apraxia. Pretend to comb your hair or pretend to strike a match and blow it out, no? So you are actually testing for a learned skills already. What localized the lesion again? If you have a patient with apraxia, it's in your parietal lobe region. Okay, good. Okay, now, how about temporal lobe and the occipital lobe? How about the temporal lobe and occipital lobe? Do we have temporal lobe signs and occipital lobe signs? No, no? For the temporal lobe sign, okay, primarily, this is actually one of the silent areas of the brain. Okay, when we say silent area, even though that there is a lesion there, no, you cannot actually tell, no, you cannot actually test, unless it is seen primarily like that in our patient, no, sudden memory problem, no, in the medial temporal region, more likely you can test the memory of your patient, no. For the occipital lobe naman, of course, the visual pathway. We will tackle that in the cranial nerve number 2 lesion, okay, or cranial nerve 2 examination. Okay. This one, the Glasgow Coma Scale, so very important, no? We've already tackled this during your neuroanatomy. So always remember that when you want to elicit, no, a pain, or when you want to stimulate your patient, no, always do the supra, or always pinch the supraorbital notch. Okay, so always remember above, no, the chin area. When we say above the chin area, the patient tend to localize or withdraws. Above, so localize, okay? Here, no? And then kapag below the chin area, withdraws, okay? So very important. Decorticate posture. Where is the lesion here when the patient is decorticating already? Above or below the red nucleus?
Above.
Above, okay? So kapag decorticate, above the red nucleus, and then kapag decerebrate naman, below the red nucleus, okay? So as you can see, no, GCS will actually, you can actually localize din the lesion when you are doing the GCS scoring. Okay, so for example, the patient is already decorticating. Okay. More likely, the lesion now is in the area of the red nucleus. Okay, and then the patient is already decerebrating, or the lesion now is probably in the pontine region or in the medullary region. Okay, you can actually check those things, no? Okay, so that is for the supratentorial area. Okay, so always remember alertness, memory, language, orientation, no? And then of course, the different cortical mapping, the frontal lobe signs, parietal signs, okay? And of course, the GCS scoring, okay? Now, we'll now go to the cranial nerves. How many cranial nerves again do we have? We have 12 testable cranial nerves, okay? So the first one is your, okay, olfactory nerve. So again, always remember our rule 2244, okay? So alam nyo na yan. No? So the first two, this one, they are located in the supratentorial area, okay? And then the second, 3 and 4, they are located in the midbrain. Trigeminal, 5, 6, 7, 8, they are located in the medulla. And then 9, 10, 11, and then 12, they are located in the pontine region. Okay? Tama ba? Mali, no? Okay, so always remember, 5, 6, 7, 8, they are located in the pontine region, and then the 9, 10, 11, 12, they are located in the medullary area. Okay? So as you are doing your cranial nerve examination, always imagine that you are actually mapping the brainstem. Okay? So more likely, where is the lesion in the brainstem? Is it in your mesencephalon, metencephalon, or myelencephalon? Okay? So first one is your olfactory nerve or olfaction. Okay? So usually, you should use coffee and cigarette. Okay? So these are the standard ones. Okay? So tell the patient to close their eyes and then check for individual olfaction, no? So ano yung kanya? Ano yung sa right and then left? Okay? So do you know that there are actually two, just like hearing loss, di ba? There are two types of hearing loss. Your conductive hearing loss and your sensory neural hearing loss, okay? In anosmia, okay, or decrease in olfaction, there are also two types, no? Your conductive and your sensory neural, okay? So when we say conductive, it is the inability of the odorant to contact the olfactory epithelium. Okay, so for example, in cases of upper respiratory tract infection, okay, or sinus disease, okay, so this is a conductive olfaction problem. Okay, in sensory neural hearing loss naman, it is a dysfunction, no, in the cortical conduction already in the brain and in the nerve. Okay, so usually we have olfactory tumors, no? Okay? And demyelinating problem. Okay? And as of now, di ba, in this type of pandemic, usually the COVID-19, no, tend to have a predilection, no, in your olfactory nerve. That's why most of our patients are suffering from anosmia. Okay? So viral infection can also cause a sensory neural, no? And another one is in cases of Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease, okay? So usually, in retrospect, for example, a patient will go to you and you diagnose that patient of Parkinson's or Alzheimer's disease, you can actually ask the relative, no? Way back before pa, years before pa, usually the patient already complained of anosmia. Okay? So usually yun yung mga first symptoms. Wala pang mga memory problem, okay? But the patient is already complaining of anosmia. Okay? Kasi primitive ang olfaction, no? So that is for your olfactory. Always remember that do not use stinging perfumes or stinging odorants like your perfumes and alcohol. Why? Because it will not stimulate those odorants will actually not stimulate the olfactory nerve, but they will stimulate your cranial nerve number 5. Okay, your trigeminal nerve. Remember that your trigeminal nerve, okay, will also innervate the inner part of your nose. Okay, so if it is very strong, no, yung odor and irritating, it will actually stimulate the cranial nerve number 5, not the olfaction. Okay, ophthalmic. For the ophthalmic, okay, there are several tests that we can test here. Okay, so number 1 is your visual acuity. Okay, so number 2 is your pupillary light reflex. And then your fundoscopic examination. And then your visual field cuts. And then, of course, test for your color blindness, no? The Ishihara chart. Okay, so these are the different tests under cranial nerve number 2. Okay, so first, fundoscope. Of course, we are actually testing here your optic nerve, no? Okay, so for fundoscopic examination, you need to dilate sometimes, no, the pupil in order for you to visualize the retina. Okay, so this is actually an example of papil edema. Okay, so papil edema, when you see papil edema, no, in your fundoscopic examination, almost always it is a neurological emergency. Okay, why? Because papil edema is one of the signs of increased intracranial pressure. What are the again? Signs of increased intracranial pressure, di ba sabi natin, headache, okay, vomiting, because it will affect the area postrema, okay, and of course, papil edema, okay? So always remember that, and you should, fundoscopic examination is very hard, okay? But if you do several practice, okay, makukuha nyo din yan, okay? And of course, this one, visual acuity, okay, using the Jaeger's chart or your Snellen's chart, okay? Visual field test, okay, for your visual field test, test each eye by asking the patient to fixate straight ahead and to report when a finger can be seen moving in each quadrant, okay? Or ask the patient to report how many fingers are being shown in each quadrant, okay? So, kwan na lang to, panoorin nyo ito sa YouTube, marami nito, okay? Now, what is being tested? We are actually testing the visual pathway, okay? So please, no, study this pathway, okay? You should study, of course, if, for example, there is a lesion in the optic chiasm here in this region, you will actually experience this type of visual field cuts, no? Bitemporal hemianopia, okay? So remember that okay, di ba yung visual field cuts, dalawa yan, okay? So if this is the nose, this is the temporal region, this is the nasal region, okay? Now, since you cannot see, no, both in the temporal region here, no, it is known as your bitemporal hemianopia. Hemi meaning half, okay? So yan, kindly study this chart, okay? For example, you have a lesion in the optic nerve here. Of course, if this is the right and then left, more likely you have a monocular blindness on the right. Okay? So ito yon. Okay? So study this chart, no, or this illustration. Okay? The visual pathway. Okay? So here naman, basta, aralin nyo ito ha, the visual pathway. And then the pupillary light reflex. Okay? So as we have said, no, when we say reflex, there are two arms here, no? Your afferent, this one, the afferent and the efferent. So always remember, the afferent arm of the pupillary light reflex is your cranial nerve number 2, and the efferent is your cranial nerve number 3. Okay? And there are two types of pupillary light reflex, the direct response and the consensual response. When we say direct response, it is the constriction of the illuminated pupil, no? But when we see consensual reflex, it is the constriction of the opposite pupil, okay? So ganito yon. So this is normal, no? When you illuminate the right pupil, definitely it will constrict. The opposite pupil sa left, it will also constrict. That is a normal, no? Reflex, okay? This is the direct one, okay? And this is the consensual one, okay? So remember, when we see direct constriction of the illuminated pupil, this one, the illuminated pupil, and then consensual light reflex is the constriction of the opposite pupil, okay? Now, if for example, you have a cranial nerve 2 lesion, the optic nerve is affected, there is a loss of direct pupillary light reflex. Okay, so since it cannot see the right eye cannot see the light, it will not constrict, right? Okay, but the opposite eye will actually constrict because the cranial nerve number 3 is intact. Okay, but here, if there is a cranial nerve 3 lesion, if you will illuminate this area, it will constrict. Okay. However, since cranial nerve number 3 is affected, okay, it will not cause constriction on the other side. Okay. Do you get that? Okay. So that is for your consensual light or pupillary light reflexes. Okay. So ikuan natin para at least mas makita nyo. Okay, so for example, here is your eyes. Okay, so for example, we have a light here, no? Okay, so there is a light. So first, pupunta muna siya sa optic nerve. Of course, you should see first that one, okay? And then they will go to the midbrain, okay? Primarily your pretectal nucleus. Okay, this is your pretectal nucleus. Okay, and then it will now go to your cranial nerve number 3. Okay? Primarily, your Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Diba? Can you still remember that? And then it will go to the pupillary constrictor. So it will cause constriction of the pupils here. No? This is the direct. Okay? So always remember that is the direct. Okay? Now, for the indirect, no? So from the pretectal nucleus, it will again go to the other pretectal nucleus. Okay, and then it will go to the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. And then it will cause constriction, okay, of the opposite pupil. This is the indirect or the consensual light reflex. Okay? That's why if, for example, you have a lesion here, no, in this region, this one will not constrict. Okay, the right one will not constrict. Okay, but here it will constrict. No, but if you have a lesion in the cranial nerve number 3, this one will constrict. The right one will constrict. Okay, but the other one will not constrict. Okay, do you get that? Okay, so always remember Edinger-Westphal nucleus and the pretectal nucleus. Okay, or all are located in the brainstem, midbrain region. Okay, so that is your pupillary light reflex. Okay, extraocular movement, you know this already, no? Na-drawing na natin to, ha? So always remember medial rectus, superior rectus, inferior rectus, and inferior oblique, oculomotor. And then superior oblique, trochlear, and then lateral rectus abducens. Okay? So always remember those one. And they're different, of course, function, no? So you know drinowing na natin to nung nakaraan, di ba? Yung nag-a-abduct, adduct, okay? So those are the different extraocular muscles. Okay, how about the trigeminal nerve? The trigeminal nerve is a mixed type of nerve. Okay, so primarily for your facial sensation and for the muscles of mastication. Okay, so for your facial sensation, we have here the different branches, the V1, the V2, and then the V3. The ophthalmic branch, the maxillary branch, and then mandibular branch. Okay, so as you can see, no, part of the trigeminal nerve, it will innervate the nasal region. Okay, that's why irritating odorant can actually you can actually stimulate the trigeminal nerve. Okay. Now always remember again that we should test pain, temperature, vibration separately. Why? Because so if for example this is your midbrain, the pons, and then medulla, trigeminal nerve is actually located here in the pons, no? This is your main sensory nucleus, okay? Main sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, okay? However, there is also a nucleus going up. This is your mesencephalic, di ba? It will go to the midbrain, mesencephalon, mesencephalic nucleus. And then the one that will go down is your descending or your spinal, no? Spinal nucleus or your descending nucleus, okay? So always remember that for the mesencephalic, it will innervate your what? Proprioception and vibration. For the main sensory, fine touch. And then for the spinal or the descending, it's your temperature and pain, okay? So it will be dependent on what is intact and what is damaged, no? Okay, so always remember this one, okay? That is for your trigeminal nerve. Muscles of mastication, di ba? Again, clench your teeth. You can actually feel your temporalis muscles, no? The masseter, and of course, the pterygoids, no? Okay, and of course, you have here again your corneal reflex. When we see corneal reflex, again, there are two arms, afferent and then efferent. The afferent side is your cranial nerve number 5, no? The cornea, okay, is actually innervated by the cranial nerve number 5, and of course, the usual response is closing of the eye, okay? And the one that closed the eye, as you have said, di ba, hook, hinuhook niya yung eyelid, that's your cranial nerve number 7. What opens the eye again? Your cranial nerve number? Cranial nerve number 3, no? Okay, good. So that is for your trigeminal nerve. You can actually check for the sensation, for the muscles of mastication. You can palpate, no? The temporalis here in this area. You can also palpate your masseter in this area, okay? If they truly are contracting, okay? And then, of course, the corneal reflex. Corneal reflex is very important when the patient is comatose or lethargic, okay? Di ba? The patient cannot follow commands. The patient cannot clench their teeth, okay? So you can actually do corneal reflex in order for you to know if the cranial nerve number 5 and cranial nerve number 7 is intact, okay, among patients who are comatose. Okay, so of course, what is being tested? The cranial nerves, no, primarily located, the trigeminal nerve primarily located in the pontine region. Okay, so always remember that. So for the facial sensation, it is the major portion, di ba? Major part. There are two parts kasi. And then the muscles of mastication is your minor part. Okay? Now, facial cranial nerve number 7, muscles of facial expression. Okay? Ask the patient to smile. Okay? So smile, puff out their cheeks, clench their eyes tight, wrinkle their brow. Okay? So you are actually testing, of course, the facial nerve. Okay? Aside from that, since facial nerve is also a mixed type of nerve, you can also check for the taste, no? Can you still remember our tongue, di ba? Our tongue is divided into your anterior 2/3 and the posterior 1/3, no? So, tapos, di ba sabi natin, all patient at the back usually gets 90, no? In front naman, they usually get 75. So, at the back, posterior part, the taste and sensory modalities is innervated by your cranial nerve number 9, okay, together with the pharyngeal region, cranial nerve number 9 lahat yan, okay? And then of course, in the anterior 2/3, for the 7, para siyang P, so that's for taste. And then 5, para siyang S, that is for sensory. Okay, so when for example, you are using sugar and salt, no? So sweet and salty, you are actually testing the taste, and that is for cranial nerve number 7, okay? But for example, if you are introducing a hot liquid, okay, you are actually testing, or a cold liquid, you are actually testing for the sensory, no? And that is for cranial nerve number 5, okay? Do you get that? Okay. And na pag-aralan na rin natin to, the peripheral facial palsy and then central facial palsy. Okay, always remember the difference, no? For the peripheral facial palsy, it will affect both the upper part of the face and the lower part of the face. While for central facial palsy, it will only affect the lower part of the face. Okay? Vestibulocochlear, assignment nyo to dati. Okay, so we have here your Rene's test and your Weber's test. Okay? So assignment nyo pa rin yan. Okay? So that is for checking two types of hearing loss, your conductive hearing loss and your sensory neural hearing loss by comparing air conduction versus bone conduction. Okay? O, ito yon. Cranial nerve number 9, you can actually check for the gag reflex. Again, since it is a gag reflex, we have again two arms. The afferent, that's cranial nerve number 9. Di ba yung drawing natin kanina? This one, cranial nerve number 9 yan. Okay? It is actually being innervated. So when you poke that one, okay, when you irritate this one, you are actually testing the cranial nerve number 9. And then when the patient tend to cough, okay, you are actually testing for the different pharyngeal muscles, which is innervated by your cranial nerve number 10. Okay? So here, I have a patient complaining of dysphagia, cannot swallow. Okay? On neurological examination, you noted that the uvula is deviated to the left. Deviated to the left. Okay? Lateralized deletion, right or left? Okay? Right or left? Okay, so good. So it's the right, no? The right part of the glossopharyngeal nerve, okay, or the right part of the medulla is affected, no? Okay, spinal accessory, you are actually testing here two muscles. The sternocleidomastoids and the trapezius, okay? So here, ito actually, chine-check niya yung trapezius area, okay? And then here naman, it is actually testing for the sternocleidomastoid. This one, okay? As you can see, di ba? Nakikita nyo ba yun? Yung nagko-contract siya? Okay, ito, contracted siya, yung sternocleidomastoid niya, okay? So you're actually testing that one. Always remember, it is always ipsilateral to the lesion, okay? And of course, hypoglossal nerve, you are testing for the tongue, okay? For the motor part of the tongue, no? I have a patient again complaining of dysarthria, okay? Or slurring of speech. On neurological examination, I noted that the tongue is deviated to the right, okay? So lateralized deletion, right or left? Right or left? Okay, good,
Right.
no? Right. Okay, so remember that the tongue will always point to the lesion. Okay, so kung nasan yung tongue, nandoon yung lesion. Okay, that's hypoglossal. It is opposite doon sa here, no? Doon sa uvula. Okay, always remember that. And then we'll now go to the motor examination. In the motor examination, you should check for 3 components. APP, no? A is for atrophy or appearance. Okay, tone of the muscle. And of course, the power. Okay? So why do we want to do that, no? Because, again, di ba, if the patient is complaining of weakness, the patient will go to you complaining of weakness. The first thing that you should do is to differentiate or to tell if the lesion is an upper motor neuron weakness or a lower motor neuron weakness. Okay, di ba? Do you still remember that? So you should be able to differentiate upper motor neuron and a lower motor neuron weakness. Okay? So usually, upper motor neuron is spastic. You can actually see spasticity, no? Lower motor neuron, flaccid. Okay? And then, upper motor neuron, hypertonic. The tone is hypertonic. Ito naman, hypotonic. Okay? And then, of course, reflexes, no? For an upper motor neuron, is it hyporeflexia or hyperreflexia?
Hyper.
Good, hyperreflexia, no? For lower motor neuron, it is hyporeflexia, okay? How about Babinski? Babinski is seen in
Upper motor.
upper motor neuron, okay? Babinski positive. Here naman, it is negative. How about fasciculations? Fasciculation, of course, you should inspect the muscles, no? Okay, for the presence of fasciculation, and it is present in the lower motor neuron, not in the upper motor neuron. Okay, that's why you need to inspect, you need to see the appearance, you need to know the tone of the muscles. Okay, that is the important of those things. Now, what is the delineation again of an upper motor neuron and lower motor neuron? So if, for example, this is your brain, this is the midbrain, the pons, and then medulla, and of course, the spinal cord, no? So usually, we have here the motor cortex, di ba? The motor part. They will actually go to the internal limb of the internal capsule, posterior limb of the internal capsule, and then go to the cerebral peduncle, basis pontis, and then they will deposit in the medullary pyramids. And then they will go to the spinal cord. Okay, that's why it is called your cortico-spinal tract. Diba? From the cortex, it will go to the spine. Okay? And then in your spine, okay, so here is your corticospinal tract. Okay? And then from the corticospinal tract, it will go to your anterior horn, and then it will become your peripheral nerves, and then your muscles. Okay? So always remember, from the cortex up to the corticospinal tract here, no? Up to the corticospinal tract, upper motor neuron siya. Okay? But from the anterior horn cell, peripheral nerves, neuromuscular junction, and then muscles, lower motor neuron. Okay? So therefore, you can actually localize, no? By doing those examination. Okay? Do you get that? Okay, so atrophy, so yun nga, twitches, tremor, fasciculation, okay, you can actually observe or inspect those things, the appearance, okay? And then palpation, you can actually palpate them, okay? In cases of myositis, palpate the muscle to see if there is tenderness, okay? Particularly the thigh and the biceps area, okay? So usually yung mga affected part, okay? So that is for your palpation of the muscles. Tone, yun nga, spasticity, okay? You can also check for rigidity. Okay, so kindly search na lang ito, ha? Basta spasticity, it's like a rubber, no? When you tend to flex it, it will go back to the original position. That is spastic, no? Okay, para siyang rubber, okay? And this is a sign of an upper motor neuron lesion. Rigidity naman, it's like a clasp knife, no? Parang rusty knife, okay? Or rusty scissor, okay? You can actually feel that there is resistance. This is usually seen in Parkinson's disease, no? Okay, can you still remember your trap, di ba, in Parkinsonism? T, tremor. R is rigidity. A is akinesia. And then P is postural instability. Okay? And then you can also check for the strength or power. Okay? Ito yung scoring natin. Okay? So 0 to 5. Ang code ko dito, 0 of course, no contraction at all, di ba? Kapag 5, of course, that is normal. Okay? Now, kapag 3, against the Gravi 3. Okay? Gravi 3. Okay? So, against the Gravi 3, that's 3 already. No? Not against the gravity, that's 2. Okay? 4 over 5 naman, against the gravity, but of course, you can also put some resistance. Okay? Ito naman, full resistance kasi normal. Okay? 1 flicker lang yan. Okay? But there is no movement at all. That is for your motor strength or power. Okay? This is the grading. How about sensory? You can also check for the pain. Okay? Dati, they are using pin, no, noon. Pero of course, because of HIV transmission and all, ngayon we are actually using toothpick na. Okay? Or you can actually get a tongue depressor, tapos putulin mo yon into half. Di ba? May pointed object or part yon, you can also use that for the pain, okay? Temperature, okay, you can use your tuning fork, okay, or a test tube, okay? So the patient can identify a cold object and a warm object. That's for temperature. This one, vibration, okay, of course, you can use the tuning fork again, the vibrating tuning fork, and joint position. For the joint position, move the patient's finger or toes upward and downward. And then ask the patient to report which it moves. Okay, so pataas, pababa. Okay, you are actually joint position or your proprioception. Okay, now what is being tested? Okay, so always remember again your spinal cord. This is the gray matter. Okay, and then it is divided into 3 parts, right? Your dorsal column, okay, the anterior column and the lateral column. So always remember here in this region, you can actually locate your gracile nucleus, okay, and your cuneate nucleus, no, which is primarily for your vibration and proprioception. Okay? Here naman, sa lateral, your sphenothalamic tract. Sphenothalamic tract. Okay, so meaning from the spine it will go up, no, to the thalamus. Okay, and it is more on for pain and temperature. Okay, sa anterior area naman, here is your anterior sphenothalamic tract. Okay, your fine touch. Okay, so that's why you need to do that separately. Because more likely, for example, if you have a lesion here in this region, usually you have impaired vibration and proprioception. Okay? So you can use those maneuvers. Reflexes. So there are actually 2 types of reflexes. When we say reflexes, these are actually instantaneous, no, involuntary movement in response to a stimulus. Okay? So very mabilis siya, immediate, no? There are 2 types, your superficial and your deep. So example of superficial reflexes is your superficial abdominal reflex. Okay, you can actually stroke, no? The anterior part of the abdomen like this, paganyan. Okay, and then you can see the rectus muscle contracting, no? Nagko-contract yung sa may umbilicus area. Here, you're actually testing T7 to T12 roots. Okay? If they are contracting, more likely intact, ibig sabihin okay, yung T7 to T12 mo. Okay? But if there is no contraction, more likely you have a lesion in your T7 or T12. Okay? Do you get that? That is for your superficial abdominal reflex. How about this one? This is your cremasteric reflex. Okay? Tonight, mga boys, no, itry nyo to or baka na-try nyo na. You can actually stroke, no, the inner thigh area here. Okay? So makikita nyo, there is actually the elevation of the testicle. No? So that is testing for the cremasteric reflex. You are actually testing your L1 and then L2 roots. Okay? Sa mga babae naman, itry nyo na lang sa mga boyfriend nyo. Okay? Itry nyo, ha? That is for your cremasteric reflex. As you can see here, corneal reflex is also a superficial reflex. Kasi nga superficial lang siya. Okay? Stroking lang yung kailangan, no? How about your deep? Okay? Here na yung mga tendon reflexes. Okay? So here are the different reflexes. Very common. Okay? Biceps. You are actually testing the C5, C6. Brachioradialis. You are testing the C6. Triceps, patellar, and Achilles tendon. So here, you are testing your biceps. C5, C6. Okay? Ni-stroke yan. Kapag ito naman, in this region, triceps. Di ba? Okay, reflex. Here, in this area naman, your brachioradialis. Kapag ito, knee reflex, no? L3, okay? So usually, tataas siya, no? So hopefully, during your clerkship in R1, we can actually do all of this. Remember that skills ito, we need to practice every day or every now and then, okay? But for now, very important for you to know why you are doing this, no? Why we are doing deep tendon reflexes, okay? To differentiate again, upper motor neuron and a lower motor neuron, okay? So ito naman, ankle reflex, no? Plantar response, of course, the Babinski, no? I-kwan mo lang ito, i-stroke mo here in this region up to here. And the abnormal response is actually the big toes up and the fanning of the small toes. Okay? That is positive for Babinski. It is also known as your extensor plantar response. And again, it is part of your upper motor neuron signs. Okay? Pathologic reflex, ito yung mga modification of Babinski, no? So here is your Babinski, stroking the plantar region. Ito naman, stroking the lateral malleolar region, inner part, Chadox. Ito naman, Oppenheims, no? The usual, ang positive dyan is ganito din, no? Extensor plantar. Toes up and then fanning of the toes. It's still a part of an upper motor neuron signs. Okay? So again, these are the different primitive reflexes. Diba sabi natin, snout, rooting, grasp reflex will usually reappear if you have a lesion in your parietal lobe. Tama? Mali. In your frontal lobe. Okay? So always remember that those are your primitive reflexes, no? And you can grade them, no, accordingly. Pero this is very subjective, eh. Probably a grade 1 to you is grade 2 to me, okay? But definitely you can actually see a hyperreflexive talaga, okay? Makikita mo yan. And of course, clonus. Ankle clonus is still part of an upper motor neuron lesion, okay? Okay, we'll now go to the cerebellar signs. Okay, you know this already, eh. Okay, finger to nose test, also known as your dysmetria. Okay? Always remember, we are in the infratentorial area, hence, lesion is always ipsilateral to the lesion. Okay? So ito yon, no? So finger to nose test. So from the finger, pupunta siya sa nose, no? Finger to nose test. Okay, another is your pronation supination test. Ito yon, di ba? You tend to pronate, okay, and then supinate. No? Again, this is a cerebellar signs. Okay? Ito yun, dysdiadochokinesia tests. Okay? And of course, if you want to test for the lower extremity, you can actually check for the knee. So from the knee, from the heel, and then to the knee, and then to the shin. Okay? Always remember, it is ipsilateral to the lesion. Appendicular attack siya, limb ito, di ba? It usually affects what part of the cerebellum? Is it the hemisphere or the vermis? Kapag appendicular, the limbs. Okay, your hemisphere, right? Kapag naman truncal attack siya, okay, yun yung body, okay, it will actually, your lesion more likely is in the vermian region. Okay? That is for appendicular and truncal attack siya. Ito yung heel to shin test. Okay? Ito naman yung, okay. How about this one? Romberg test. Usually, if you are doing the Romberg test, what are you testing? You are testing your, are you testing your cerebellum kapag Romberg test? You are actually testing for your, sige mamaya puntahan natin ha. So this is the tandem gait then, no? For the tandem gait, ito, paglapitin mo lang, okay? And then usually the patient veers either to the right or left, okay? So kapag nagkaganon, okay, more likely, the patient lesion is ipsilateral, no? Okay, ito yung Romberg test, okay? So as the patient, okay, so everybody stand up. Okay, nakatayo na ba kayo? Put your feet together, okay? Put your feet together and then keep your arms by your side. Okay? And then close your eyes, okay? So anong nakuha nyo? May swaying ba? Okay, close your eyes and then open your eyes. Okay, if you are actually swaying, okay, if your eyes is closed, di ba? Close your eyes and then you are swaying. And then upon opening your eyes, you are still swaying, no? More on the right or on the left, you have a lesion in the cerebellum. Okay? So kapag naka-open yung eyes and then closing your eyes, there is swaying or veering to the right or to the left, that is a cerebellar sign. Okay? But if, for example, close your eyes, you are swaying. And then when you open your eyes, it will stop. Okay? So when there is swaying, when the patient eye is closed, that is a Romberg positive sign. Okay? Kapag yung swaying is only seen when the patient closes the eye, pero kapag inopen niya yung eye niya, nawawala, that is positive for Romberg sign. And Romberg sign is actually a test for your dorsal column. Okay? Proprioception. Okay? Primarily. So these are usually seen among patients with vitamin B12 deficiency. Okay? Or yung mga merong ano na yun, yung sa treponema infection, no? Syphilitic in tabes dorsalis, no? Your treponema infection. Okay? That is for your dorsal column. Okay? And then, the last one is your meningeal signs. Okay? I know you know this already, no? When we have in meningeal signs again, there are only two disease entity in neurology that you should think. Okay? So first is, of course, meningitis and subarachnoid hemorrhage. Usually, ang difference lang nila here, positive for fever, no? for meningitis. And then for subarachnoid naman, usually a 10/10. Okay, worst headache, very severe headache, no? And both of them will have meningeal signs. Okay, what are these meningeal signs? Kernigh's, knee, no? Knee is flex, okay? And usually, there is actually a pain, no? In the back region. That is Kernigh's sign. B naman, Brudzinski, batok, no? Okay, so neck flexion, okay, usually, you will have hip and knee flexion or you have a pain, no? Here in this region, okay? That is Brudzinski and Kernigh's sign. And of course, nuchal rigidity, no? Okay, so do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Madami, no? Okay, so our point here is, do not do a certain examination na hindi mo alam why you are doing that. Okay, you are actually wasting your time if you are doing that, no? But now, as you can see, for example, you are asking the patient name, okay? You know what you are testing, no? You are actually letting the patient protrude the tongue. You are actually know what you are testing, okay? You are actually testing or mapping the brain in order for you to levelize, to lateralize, and localize a lesion, okay? So, with that, thank you very much and Merry Christmas sa inyong lahat and a Happy New Year to all. So hopefully, we can see each other again on Neuro 2. Okay? So always remember celebrate Christmas safe by exercising apat. Okay? So air circulation, physical distancing, always wear PPE and 30 minutes only. Okay? So thank you very much and good day. Do you have any questions?
None po, Doc.
Okay, sige. So you'll have your exam next week pa, tama? Or next year? Okay, I'll update you na lang. Okay? So thank you very much and good afternoon.
Thank you po, Doc.
Thank
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you po, Doc.